Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 1 of the UK Thrashers radio show. We've been away for a while, but we're back to make some fucking noise. Obviously, we've not been completely goofing off while we've been away. Many of you have bought our Moshing the Roof On album, where we've managed to raise £1,500 shelter charity. So everyone who's bought that, thank you very much for your support. In tonight's episode, we have about a 40-minute interview with a North East band, Scarred by Truth, and we've also, of course, got some of the latest thrash news and music ready to fill your ears. So, let's go.
Taking a fight with the man in the middle, with the man in the middle, we got now.
So that was Heist 211 and their track Fight, and it was chosen by one of tonight's guests, Mike from Scarpipe Truth. And now for the news. Okay, so there's been some killer releases already this year, both in the UK and the rest of the world. Here's a quick rundown of some that you shouldn't miss. Of course, first up is our own double album, Moshing the Roof On. As we said earlier, the support has been awesome. Nearly 250 copies and raising £1,500 for charity. That's all gone to Chelter, and there's still a couple of copies left if you're interested. Sepultura and Annihilator released what has possibly been their best album for decades with Quadra and Ballistic Sadistic, and there's been new albums called Delirium from Hazard, Collapse to Come from German-based Reactory, Weapons of Tomorrow by Warbringer, Filth Grinder from Italian band Xenos have made it all onto our virtual deck. In the UK, we've had an Album of the Year contender from Shrapnel with Palace for the Insane, a new album from Divine Chaos called The Way to Oblivion, and a first album from Hellfected with Woe to the Kingdom of Blood. Those guys are on the show next week. We've also had new singles in advance of new EPs and albums. First from the new lineup of Onslaught, we've had Religious Suicide, we've had Mordred returning in this live form with Not For You, and finally playing us out at the end of the show will be Virus and Evolution Apocalypse. Enough talking, let's thrash.
In
and that was Hellbound by Armatura. Paul from the band is also the guitarist for Holosade, and they featured on 666, one of the Scar by Truth tracks off the new EP. That track was selected by Deej. Let's get on with it. So that was King of Bombs by Dissension, taken from their debut EP, also entitled Dissension, dropped on the 8th of May. Really enjoying that. Okay, so to the next part of the show. We're off to interview Scar by Truth. I'd like to welcome Mike and Darren from Scar by Truth into the UK Thrashers radio show. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hey.
How you doing? So, do you want to introduce yourselves? Explain a bit about your band and your background, really, where you came from. How did you end up in your current band?
I'll let the voice go first. Deej, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm Deej. I'm the vocalist and one of the songwriters, along with Mike, in Scar by Truth. Basically, we write the songs together. This album's been a lot of me, mainly because of the lockdown and we haven't been able to get together. So I've basically sang on it, played guitar.
Oh, you're still there? I think we've lost him.
Folks.
Okay, he can be my ventriloquist dummy. I'll be the ventriloquist. So as Deej was saying, he's actually wrote the majority of the songs for this EP that we've just released, the Blind My Eyes EP. So we mostly songwrite together. So he's the vocalist, plays a little guitar and little keyboards like me. I'm Mike, I'm the bass player, I'm the gobshite of the band. I'm the one who you'll probably speak to most on social media. And yeah, that's us very quickly. I mean, we're no kind of Hetfield or Ulrich or Mustaine and Ellefson, but I think we are the nucleus of the collective that is Scarred by Truth.
I got that feeling. Is it more of a collective than a band? Are you kind of parachuting in other musicians when you need them, or is it, and that's built around you, or is it, how's it working like that?
Well, the idea of Scarred by Truth, it's only, I think it was the back end of 2017 when we decided we wanted to do something together. And we spent most of the first year of 2018 kind of just writing songs between Darren and myself. And then we found our first real member of the band / collective, Jono, and we started writing the songs together, and then we got the other two members of the band, a drummer and a lead guitarist at the time. And because we were all in other bands, we looked at it as just being this collective of musicians together who just wanted to kind of explore different music than what their primary band, let's call it that, was doing. So we had members that were in a thrash band that sounded a lot like Avenged Sevenfold. I think they'll take that as a compliment. One member was in a gothic band called Memento Mori, and because there was like the five of us together initially, that was bringing all these diverse influences into the band. It's what makes it seem more like a collective, and so we spent the majority of 2018 just coming up with the ideas, but it wasn't until the back end of 2018 that we got together in our first set of rehearsals and came out with Scarred, which was our first original demo, although we look at The Plight as being our first single, which we did for yourself.
Yeah.
And then we just wrote another couple more tracks. Blind My Eyes had already been an idea, so we came up for that, and that's the title of the EP. And once we got all that sort of rolling, we moved on, and that took us well into kind of 2019, the back end of 2019, yeah, when we were wanting to sort of start looking to get the actual band out, put it as a proper package and think, oh yeah, let's really go for this. Now, as I was saying, because the downside of having members that are in other bands is that they've got commitments, and the two guys who were in the band Nephilim, the ones that sounded like Avenged Sevenfold, they had the opportunity to release their album, and it's picked up. They've done really well. So they kind of just turned around and said, look, we can't really commit to doing two bands, which is absolutely fair. Which left us in a bit of a quandary as to what we do going forward. So that's when we kind of looked at the whole point of us being a collective, because we were down a drummer, we were down a lead guitarist. So what can you do? You just reach out to your friends and go, can you help us out with this? Can you do that? Because I'm no lead player. I mean, I'm barely even a bass player, really. So yeah, you've got to reach out and make those contacts and pull in some favors and go from there. And so that's really why we call ourselves a collective. And also on the EP, we've called in the favors and got some guest solos, got some guest backing vocals. So yeah, it's also for us, it's involving other members of the local and regional Northeast music scene. And I think that's the main way that we're going to sort of survive and keep moving in music, is to support each other constantly.
Sure. And I kind of, I've been fortunate enough to hear the EP in advance, so you kindly sent that over for a listen the other night. But, you're probably as left field as I would go. You're at the very tinge of what I guess could still be called thrash, and you can hear your industrial heritage, your proggy heritage, a bit of that kind of doom inspired. There's a lot of different sounds, and it's quite a complicated. You're not a thin veneer band that just plays. I know you've been a bit complicated about your bass playing, but it's not a simple sound, and it's actually, you actually have to listen to it to get the nuances and the texture of what you've created. Kind of. Positions and genres are pretty fluid. Back in the day, we had 2 or 3 if we were looking. You were metal or not, But where do you think you sit?
Danny.
Where do you sit in that? What kind of genre bending kind of
genre bending, yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, Freudian. So, where do you think you really sit? Is there a niche, or are you trying not to have one? You're trying to keep that fluidity?
We are really trying to not be a niche band. I mean, I personally dislike the idea of genres. I think it's a basic human need to want to be able to simplify things, to understand it, and genres work well in that respect to do it. But then sort of labels, and I think labeling things can be, I don't know, it can put people off, like you could have a band that's really good, but if somebody just mislabels it, or any product, people are just going to avoid it. And
it can have a detrimental effect as well as a positive.
I want to not, yeah. So I do want to sort of avoid that, and as I said, we do kind of say that we are a genre breaking. Not genre breaking, that's wrong, but we don't want to be pigeonholed in a particular genre. And I mean, my background is thrash metal. It's a little bit of rock metal. I mean, I'm in an industrial band, although that's not my prime writing style. I just love playing it live. So I feel like I can borrow a lot of things from like the Ministry playbook, but also the Napalm Death playbook if we wanted to. I think one of the things that always defines a band though is the vocalist's style, because I mean Deej has really quite a clean voice, I would say.
Yeah.
In the kind of the vein of Flotsam and Jetsam, Overkill, where he's got quite a high pitched voice. Let's be honest, for a low statue man, he's got a high voice, and that's always going to be something that does form our sound and could kind of put us in a particular genre. But that's not to say we can't do different diverse types of music and have a driving industrial beat, but with a thrash guitar solo. I mean, that's just absolutely brilliant, I think, to be able to do.
The kind of the logic of that, and vocalists definitely shape a band, and they're often a make or break point. You can look at some of the bands that you just mentioned 2 there. You got Overkill, Flotsam. You look at Violence. You look at Acid Rain in the UK. Those vocalists. Mm-hmm. You're either a generic thrash vocalist or you're something different, and
yeah,
he definitely sits in that something different, because he seems to have quite a wide range, and he'll go very clean and then a little bit screamy and then a little bit more guttural. So it's as I said, it goes back to that complexity of the songs and the makeup. So you mentioned that the EP's coming out soon. Where does the song content come from? Obviously, you donated The Plight to the Mosh in the Roof-On programme, and that got some really good reception on that. And our friends at Metal Mouth Radio Show loved it, and Fresh from Metal Album Club of the Fortnight and Razor's Edge, and all those guys really got into it. What about the other stuff? Is it of a similar vein from a content point of view? Because obviously that was about homelessness. So is it all social? Is it fiction? Is it a mixture? Is it where does that come from, and the inspiration for all that?
Yeah, I think as a band, I mean, obviously I love bands that just write about fiction or fantasy. I think we're the kind of band that's always going to write about reality, and about the things that affect not just us but other people on a day-to-day basis. I think it's something that it's tangible, it's real, and I think everybody can feel that sort of thing. Like you said, I mean, the Plight is the single that we led with, but it's actually one of the newest songs that we've wrote, because we wrote it. I think I said to Deej back in maybe October or November last year, I was like, I really want to write a song about homelessness, and I want it to be a charity single. And he went, okay. He went off, he wrote the basics of The Plight, and came back to us, and it kind of just sat there. I think it got, because it was about Christmas, December, Christmas, something like that. We just thought, oh, we'll just revisit that. And then I was fortunate enough to see your post to say that the UK Thrashers wanted to do a charity album for homelessness, and I was just, I mean, obviously I got on you straight away, and I was just like, that is the one thing that we wanted that song to do. And I probably would have gone to a Northeast charity, just kind of sort of say, look, here's a song, just use it, do whatever you want with it. But your project was just the best thing, and it was just one of them, I don't know, universe guided things that I thought, oh, the song is there, it just needs to be finished off. And I know we were one of the last bands to actually submit to your project for you, and I can't thank you enough for having us on board with that. But that was from concept of that song to recording it at home and getting it done and mastered within about 3 weeks. And I mean, anyone who knows that you send something off for mastering, that can take 3 to 4 days, maybe it's even a week or more. Yeah. So I can't thank Richard, not just to plug in for sort of shifting a lot of work to do that for us so we could deliver in time for you. But I'm kind of digressing, as I often do. I mean, we've got other songs like Blind My Eyes is... it was originally called Mr. Fury. It was a song that DJ wrote about mental health and about how you could be the most confident person in the world, but there's always aspects of yourself that you don't like, hence the lyrics of like, I hate you, you hate me. And a lot of people kind of misperceive that as being a kind of, I don't know what's the word, like there's a lot of backlash at the moment about the government and about authority figures and how people feel like they're hurt by them, and then that in turn builds your kind of resentment towards them.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, the song was initially kind of about DJ's opinions of himself, really.
Yeah. And I guess
so that's. Sorry, Neil.
No, I was just going to say, I guess that's that's a blessing and a curse, isn't it? You want people who listen to it to put their own interpretation onto stuff. You know, you don't always want it to be a once upon a time song. You know, it doesn't. You don't want people to go, oh, no, this is about hate the government or whatever. But in the same light, if you want to get a message across and someone misconstrues that message, that's so it's a bit of a double-edged sword in that basis, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's also goes back to what we said earlier about being genre fluid. It's like if your message can be clear and yet still interpreted in a slightly different way, because people obviously feel differently than one another and have different emotions, different experiences.
Exactly.
And if a song can reach out to someone, that's brilliant. I mean, I was lucky enough to kind of be asked to do a T90 by the Thrash Metal Album Club, and in that I got a chance to reflect on some of the songs that shaped me as in my teens, like In My Darkest Hour by Megadeth. I think that's a brilliant song. We all know it's about Cliff Burton's death and how Dave eventually found out kind of secondhand by someone that Cliff had died, and how he felt betrayed by his ex-Metallica, I dare say friends. I mean, they are friends now. So yeah, it's songs with multiple meanings and interpretations is brilliant, I think. So if somebody can just pick up on something that even you as a writer didn't think about while you did it, is a good thing.
Sure. So now Darren's dropped back in.
Yeah, just picking up on that, I think it is important. I don't mind saying where it come from when I'm writing a song. I don't mind people knowing where I was coming from when I wrote the song, but I would much prefer people to take their own from it and actually put their own experience to it. Like I say, if they want to know what it was about, fair enough, but I would far sooner people take their own view on it.
No, and that's kind of where we were just chatting about, that it's quite important sometimes for people to take their own background, their own experiences, and it means something slightly different to them than it did to you, but it still carries a message and carries a meaning, and that's really important. Songs with meanings are important to us all, either from a time in your life or because it talks to you in some way. So, no, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So you kind of touched on this. The recording process for this, it sounds like it wasn't a studio. It was a mixture of, after the kids had gone to bed or locked in the shed, or is that how it was? It wasn't a kind of all turn up and have a nice week in the country in Wales and in a proper professional studio. This was a bit DIY.
Neil,
Yeah,
I would love to say it was exactly like a year and a half in the life of Metallica. You're just in the studio, shooting guns or whatever. But it wasn't. It was, as you said, it was waiting for the children to go to bed to kind of get the housework done, and just get to work whenever you could. I mean, the whole COVID pandemic's been a bit crippling and restrictive to music in general, but I think our thought was that the world keeps turning, the music world is still turning, people still want to listen to things, and we don't have the luxury of going into a studio, but the capability to be able to record at home is there, so we thought, why not try it? There's nothing to lose, and give it a go. Yeah,
and actually everything to gain, because it gives you a bit more. In some ways, you're not hit on the hammer of I've got to get something done today because we're paying for the engineer for one more day or all that sort of stuff. Take 550.
Yeah.
Within reason. Otherwise, you'll never get any material out the door. But
I was just going to say, one of the most frustrating things about the whole pandemic thing, though, is that we did, I think, literally about a day or 2 days before, just sort of find brand new members to join the band, and we felt really positive, and we're like, right, let's get in, rehearse and get some even more songs written, and boom, locked it down. There's not really a lot you can do. So technology being as it is, it's brilliant now to be able to share these ideas with each other remotely. But I just think, for me, as long as the internet doesn't replace the face-to-faceness to being able to get out there and get your music out and play live, that is always my big concern about the internet at the moment, is that people just aren't going out to gigs because somebody else is live streaming it.
Yeah. So Darren, you touched. Mike touched about live shows. There is that a priority now? Is obviously as soon as you've got the album released, the EP released, have you got the members now to pull this together and get on stage and get these songs? Obviously, I guess Metal to the Masses has all gone to shit this year and all those other things. So is that something you're looking for an opportunity to do now?
Yeah, it's definitely a priority. I mean, that is what we're all about. The live performances are the heart and soul of every band. And like you say, now we've got the members. We can't wait to be able to get back into the rehearsal studio and get it together and get out there.
Mike touched on it, I think, when you dropped out for a little bit, that you by being a collective, you've got the ability to flex in people from other bands and pull on the wider scene. Obviously, you're a Northeast band. People can hear that from your accents, hopefully, unless they're American or something and don't understand. But you guys, you've got a pretty good scene up there. We had, I think, 3 Northeast bands: yourself, Novichok, and Syntheta. I can't say that unless I try and say it in Mark's accent. Is the scene quite strong up there? You've got good clubs, good bands, and the crowd that goes with it, or is it just a bit of a hotbed for bands without the support of the people?
Yeah, and I think a good thing, like just coming back into it all, because I've been out of the game for quite a while, is seeing how the community, the music community, are getting together, especially the metal community, but it's a wider spectrum than that. And like these songs that we've put out now would not have been out without the help of the likes of Jordan, because we literally didn't have somebody who could lay down the lead guitars. I mean, I can solo a little bit, but I don't profess to be a solo guitar player, and I want to put out the best product I can, so I know my limitations. And like I say, without people like him and St. Gallows, well, on Scarred, we wouldn't have that capability. So it is, the whole scene, I think, is thriving and just getting bigger, really. Just got to keep it going and push the message out, and I think people do attend the shows.
I think, touching on your question though as well, Neil, I mean, a lot of it, the bands are there, the bands are certainly there in the Northeast, and they're really supportive. I mean, I look back to the scene, because we're older guys, and I remember what the scene was like 20 years ago, and it was a bit cutthroat, you know, everybody was kind of out for each other. Not in a bad way, but it was all about like, well, how can I get my band ahead of somebody else's? Because that was the business back then. These days, it's all about, for me, it's all about supporting each other and just kind of going, I've just heard about this gig opportunity. I think you guys would be perfect for it, or such and such needs a support act. And for me, that's part of the fun about being back in the music scene.
Yeah.
Is actually building the scene with other people.
I think, you know, I said to, I think it was actually your post the other day, your T90. You know, you were joking about 1989. I think 2019, 2020 has been more like 89, 90 than anything in the past. You know, it seems to be that camaraderie again, that people are in the scene because they love it and they want to, you know, they'll try and put their mates on the bill. If they get a leg up, they're going to drag someone else with them rather than, you know, use someone else to stand on to get that leg up. I remember going in and, you know, going to the back of Kerrang or going to Metal Hammer and finding gigs, or a little bit, you know, into a record shop. Do you think it's harder now in some ways that, you know, there's so much online? How do you digest? How do you find out stuff? You know, I keep finding new bands that have been going for 3-4 years. How the hell have I missed this band? How have I never seen them? And, you know, they've got, you know, an EP out, a Bandcamp album. Do you think that's actually more of a challenge in some ways, or do you think social and all that lot makes life easier?
I honestly think it's harder. I think obviously you've got the likes of, well, obviously I know they're a bit more of an emo metal band, but the ones that kind of stand out is like My Chemical Romance. I mean, I think they're a good band, and they did really well in the whole MySpace boom back in sort of the mid 2000s when the internet was new and there wasn't a lot of content on there. So obviously they came up as one of the big things at the time. Now I think there's so much content that people are sort of a bit overwhelmed with it, and that there is just too much. And unless you've got that kind of raw thirst and desire to want to go out and listen to brand new music, it's actually more difficult than you would think. Yeah,
and I think, you know, that was as the secondary benefit of the Mosh in the Roof program was purely to do that as well. Is that, you know, bands that I'd hunted down and found via accident a lot of the time. How do you go about getting those to other people? You know, and the benefit was we made a few quid for charity, but, you know, the secondary benefit to everyone hopefully was that we got lots of exposure for bands that maybe, you know, I've had a few people about, I listen to, you know, band X and they're my new favourite band, and it's like, how do you get that?
Yeah.
How do you get that other ways now? I think it's really difficult.
I mean, one of the big measures of success, and I mean, before I sort of got back into playing music, I was hosting or setting up gigs literally for original artists to be able to have somewhere to play. Because this kind of obviously touches a bit back on your earlier question of like the bands are there. I don't necessarily think that the venues are there in the area, or people don't go out to the venues. And there is a lot of a judgment, I think, on bands based on their likes as well on Facebook or follows. It's like a band is only successful if you have 10,000 likes.
Yeah,
you know, you're a newbie band if you're under 1,000 likes, that sort of thing. Nobody's going to touch you if you've only got 100 likes. And I mean, I might be wrong, but that's what I've perceived to be happening. I think that's something that.
Do you think it goes both ways though? I sometimes see bands with tons of likes, and you go to a gig and there's 3 people, and that's, you know, his mom, his girlfriend, and the dog. You know, there's not. It's you can buy likes.
I think there is an attitude among some people as well. Where I was talking to someone a few weeks ago, and we were talking about Scared by Truth, and the conversation started with, "Oh well, I don't listen to original bands." I was like, "What do you listen to?" And it was like Metallica, all the big names. Basically, this guy had turned around and said that was what he listens to, and he didn't entertain anything else. But then I introduced him to a few bands. I was included, and he sort of saw the light. Like, oh yeah, there is something else out there, but there is, ignorance is too strong a word, but there is a sort of like, if people don't know about it, how can they go out and find it?
Yeah,
and that's why we're here and we push like we do.
Yeah, and you can't blame people.
Let's get the boxing gloves on.
Yeah,
I think the person who I would blame, one of the people, I mean, I know it's obviously not the metal scene, but you have the likes of Simon Cowell and Psycho Productions and the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and everything like that. And essentially these shows are trying to make future stars out of, and I know it sounds horrible, but karaoke. I mean, they're regurgitating somebody else's songs and trying to get themselves to a higher platform on it. And that's not being original, it's not being creative, but because that's what's being shown on the media, I think people are kind of going, oh, that's how you become a star, is by sounding like somebody else. No, you become a star by being yourself. I mean, I was watching a documentary with Lemmy quite recently, and Triple H, the wrestler, and it was literally a couple of weeks before Lemmy had died, and he said one of the things he attributes to his success and longevity in music was that he was himself. There was no bullshit, there was no pretense. Lemmy is Lemmy. You either like him or you fuck off. And I thought, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you can't be yourself while you're pretending to be somebody else.
It's fine to have influences, but it shouldn't just be a blatant rip-off. You know, and we all carry our influences, you know, on our sleeve. From, you know, it's natural that if you're listening to a certain type of music, then occasionally some of those sounds, some of those riff type, you know, styles will come across. I suppose the more varied your music taste is, the more varied your output becomes. You know, I think some bands go down a wrong avenue on that. You know, Metallica's another great example. You know, you listen to too much country music and you end up producing a load of shit. But you know, other bands use that to their advantage.
I think it's quite important to listen to different types of music. But if I'm writing, if I know I'm going to write, because sometimes it just comes to me. But if I know for a fact that I'm going to be writing in the next week or so, I don't listen to anything in the car, and that's the reason, because you are like a sponge and you take stuff in. And the amount of times that I've been in a rehearsal room and I've played a riff and this is great, listen to this, and somebody said, well, that's such and such, and you've got no intention of ripping it off, but it just happens because you do take things in and subconsciously it comes out. But I think with the writing process as well, you do need to listen to all different genres, and I like all sorts of different stuff, from like classical music, some pop music, right through to the really heavy side of like death metal. So it does. I think it's important, because then your music starts cross genres as well, and then you can be a little bit different, which is what we're trying to do. Whether we are or not is for the likes of yourself and the public in general to decide. But that is what we're attempting to do. We attempt to be a bit different by being diverse, versatile, and getting the message across.
I said to Mike, I think when you dropped off, that, you know, you can definitely hear that in your music. You can hear that diversity, and you can hear your influences, but without being, you know, ripping things off. You know, it's definitely a sound that's quite unique to you, but you can hear bits of prog, bit of industrial, bit of doom, bit of thrash, bit of everything, really. If you could pick up 5 CDs, you know, what's the 5 CDs or do you use CDs anymore? 5 tracks saved on Spotify, whatever it is. You know, what five bands are you listening to? I'd say Slipknot, Stone Sour, Korn, Ozzy. Can't think of. I listen to a bit of Death Punch. They're not my go-to, but I do like a few of the songs. But then recently I've been listening to Billie Eilish. I just find her and her brother's songwriting fascinating. Like,
the like metal without the guitars sometimes.
I was going to say, do you approach that as a vocalist and a musician looking for song structure and looking for different arrangements? Is that why you come to some of that stuff, because it's more complex and more interesting from a songwriter's perspective?
It can be, but with that, no, it was just because my kids were into it. So I thought I'll check it out. Like, who is this person? And I didn't have a clue who she was until she played that Middlesbrough Music Live festival, and then we could hear her from where I live, and it was like, oh, it sounds all right. So I went and checked out the videos, and I thought, this kid's amazing. Like, and then I realised that she co-writes with a brother, so it was like, I wouldn't say it influences the way I write, but everything has an effect. Like, so every like contact leaves a trace type of thing. You pick up things without knowing sometimes, and then you might listen back to it and think, oh yeah, that's from that. And
Sure.
you're doing it subconsciously half the time.
And Mike, where are you stealing bass lines from? I mean, playing open E's at a different speed from?
Ooh, see, I can't even say it. Oh, I don't say. I'll hold my hands up high and say that one of my biggest influences for being a bass player, and everyone will probably boo and go thumbs down, was Mark King of Level 42. When I was younger, I loved that guy's bass work, and as much as I really loved, I remember listening to Gary Moore's Wild Frontier and everything. I thought, oh, I want to be a guitarist. It was Mark King and it was Cliff Burton that made me think, no, actually, what I want to do is I want to play bass. I want to be the unsung driving heart and soul of a band, because I think when a bass locks in with the drums and it just drives that song forward, the guitarists can just whittle away and the singer can just holler away, and it's just the main thing for me. So staying in kind of like the thrash and the metal ways, it's always going to be the earlier Metallica. By that, obviously, I mean Cliff Burton is a god. Jason Newsted, I think, was amazing, but vastly underappreciated by his own band, by Metallica. Yeah. Especially when you hear like And Justice for All and have like the And Justice for Jason version, where you can hear his bass work and it's absolutely amazing. It's spot on. Love it. So yeah, I think the early Metallica is always going to be a big thing for me. Stone Sour, which I've touched on. And staying with Jason Newsted as well, obviously Flotsam Jetsam have been an all-time favourite band of mine. Always loved them since the first time I heard them, and was lucky enough to kind of go and see them last year at Hammerfest, which was like a bucket list tick off. Was waiting for like 29, 30 years for that.
It's nice when they finally come around.
What else? Yeah. I think one of the albums as well that always hit me when I was younger was, and again, this touches back onto genre, being genre fluid, was Onslaught in Search of Sanity, Dave Grimmett's voice. But have it with Onslaught was, certainly Onslaught are their most melodic. That's an album that just still blows me away to this day. Love it.
Time for a plug. Obviously, new EP. Do you want to rename drop that? Let everyone know when it's coming out. Plug the crap out your social media. It's kind of between the two of you. You'll blame each other if you get else wrong.
Debut EP is coming out on the 6th of June at 6 a.m. in the morning. You work out those magic numbers. And it's going to be a 5-track EP. The entitlement of the album is Blind My Eyes, which is the lead track, which we touched on a little bit earlier. Then we've also got a reworking of our first single, Scarred, on there. The Plight, which is the song we submitted for UK Thrashers. So a portion of the EP sales are going to be going to Shelter UK. We've got the next track, 666, and also the 5th track on the album is a collaboration track with Adam Ashbridge Music, who's going under Fractured Planet. He's an incredible guitarist who I had the pleasure of working with in Juratory for a little while. And Adam I approached him and said, do you fancy writing a song together? And he said, yeah. So he came up with this track called The End Is Nigh, an instrumental, and submitted it to us. and then Darren obviously took it away, beaved it away, put the lyrics on it, and sang that. And we've put that on the EP because we just absolutely love it. It was
one of those that just come together in minutes. It was like I heard the track, and it was that good. It just flowed, and it was written almost immediately. And then it's just been sat there for a while until we've had the opportunity to release it.
Excellent. So brilliant. So how can we get hold of that? Is that Bandcamp?
Bandcamp, yeah. So it's the usual work. Thank you, Distro Kid. So it's on Bandcamp. It's priced at £5. So you can download it, or we are having a limited run on CDs. So obviously, I recommend that you get it as quickly as possible, because once the CDs have gone, we'll probably just lower the price. I'm fair. I'm old school. I love a CD. I like something to look at. You can visit us at www.scarredbytruth.co.uk, and on most of the major social medias, where we'll just be something like at Scarred by Truth. You can find us all there. Love it if you could follow us, subscribe to the videos on the channel. That's all great, because like I said earlier, I feel that numbers are important to other people, not just to us, but to other people. So yeah, definitely throw us a like.
Any other shout outs, any other plugs? Obviously, nice t-shirts. I haven't got mine on today, but merch plugs, anything else you want to do?
Yeah, we've got t-shirts. We're going to do a range of t-shirts for 666, because we just thought that was an interesting single for us, and it seems to be one that a lot of people have picked up on. So we'll do a limited run on that. I think shout outs for other people. Like I say, I want to be supportive to some of the bands in the Northeast scene, and people who I think others should check out. Heist 211. They brought out my personal favourite EP of last year. I absolutely love that. Power Metalers, By Your Leave, are great. Stockton and Darlington's Desolation.
Nephilim.
Synth Theatre, yeah, Nephilim. Yeah, our boys Jester and St. Gallows and Nephilim, who helped us out a lot in the early days. It's just so many great bands. There really is. More than I can.
And everybody who's like helped towards getting this EP to where it is, all the musicians who've helped on it, everyone who's put any time to it or ideas.
Okay, awesome, guys. So good luck with the EP. I'm sure we'll be in touch, and so hopefully see you live sometime in the near future.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say, Neil, thank you very much for having the confidence and belief in us in the early days to kind of be this band that went, we've got this partially written song, and just letting us be part of something that's bigger than us. I'll always be grateful for that. So thank you so
definitely.
much.
And we do have a lot more in the tank. There's stuff there that we wrote in the early days that we haven't had time to record yet, and we're coming up with new stuff every day. And also the guys in the band who we haven't even met yet because of this COVID thing, they're coming up with some immense riffs that are going to turn into something great. So it's just a case of watch this space, and we will be pushing out more very soon.
Yeah, so much love to Marty, Rob, and to Danny, who are going to be coming on this journey with us. It's exciting times for us.
Awesome. We'll be watching with interest. And this is The End of Nine by Scarred by Truth. And that's it, drawing this episode to an end. Thank you to Deej and Mike from Scar by Tree for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the music, hope you enjoyed what's been going on. More episodes coming soon. I'm going to play you out with the title track of the new Virus album. It's going to be released very soon on Combat Records. This is Evolution Apocalypse.